Hey, hey, movie maniacs! My name is Sky, and I'm joined by my brother Dusty. Dusty, how is it going? I think you're on location for this episode, right?
I am absolutely on location. I'm in Flagstaff, Arizona. I took the family. We're going skiing for 2 days and we got a hotel and we're just hanging out at the hotel. The kids are swimming or they're going to be swimming in a few minutes. And so I'm like, get out of the room so I can record the podcast.
Sweet, sweet, sweet. Yeah, it would have been so much nicer if you were on location, like in Hawaii or Barbados, wherever they filmed the movie.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
Yeah,
Yeah. But yeah, we had a
maybe
good
one of
day.
these
So
days we'll be on location for something.
absolutely. And if you think of watching this on YouTube, you're going to see my face being really red. Got a lot of sun, and it's definitely got a lot of color. Plus, last week I went 3 days skiing in Lake Tahoe, which was absolutely amazing. So I got a lot of sun there too. So if you look at that YouTube, if you're looking at us at this, you'll see Sky looks normal. I'm red. I'm like beet red.
Yep, for sure, for sure. Do you put on? I imagine you do at least, right? Sunscreen on your face when you go,
No,
or do you
why
not
would I do
bother?
that?
I
No.
know.
No, actually, what I do is I like to actually have I want to prove to everybody that I went skiing. So I usually just wear my goggles and make
Oh,
sure like I'm nice and not sunblocked up. Maybe get a little wet, like put some water on my forehead so it gets a little more, see the sun magnifying in. I want to make sure people know, hey, that dude went skiing.
yep. Cool beans. So, Dust, we watched Fantasy Island. Now, in the last episode, we played a repeat of Aquaman, and I said we were going to watch Harley Quinn, assuming it was any good, and I didn't really care for it, so you and I didn't watch it. Are you kind of bummed out that you didn't get to see the movie,
Actually,
the
no,
Harley
no,
Quinn one? No.
no. I mean, having a Harley Quinn movie. I mean, her character is kind of interesting. It's different than like Joker or any other normal bad guy. So it'd be kind of interesting to see the take because she's like the number two to the bad guy to see how that plays out. But I wasn't dying at all to watch it. Plus, just DC movies in general, other than Aquaman. Oh, and I went back and listened to our Aquaman. I wouldn't listen to it again. I was like, man, that was a fun show to do. That's a good movie. I haven't watched it again. I got to go back and watch that one again. But yeah, in general, DC has not been doing that well. I mean, they've been getting better. As they put out new movies, they started learning, but apparently they didn't learn a whole ton. Is that what you're saying?
This one felt a lot like Suicide Squad, which I didn't care for at all. And it was really weird storytelling. You have the whole perspective of the movie is from Harley Quinn's perspective, and she's kind of psychotic. Her mind bounces back and forth. She's just, squiggly minded and whatever. So the story bounces back and forth, and it's easy to follow along. But she tells a story, and then she jumps back to 3 days before, and then she jumps back again, and it was just kind of tough to follow. And I just didn't enjoy it as much. But it's kind of interesting. I didn't enjoy that at all, but I think it was my attitude going into it because I was thinking to myself, oh, geez, I know it's going to be a lot of the same as Suicide Squad, and I didn't like that. I'm not going to like this. So I had a poor attitude going into that one, which I purposely changed the attitude. I had a good attitude going into Fantasy Island, and I think that helped me thoroughly enjoy the movie. How did you feel about it?
I See, I'm a little different take on like your anticipation, kind of energy level and attitude going into it. Because if I'm like excited for it, or not really excited, if I have a good attitude going into it, I'm like, oh, this is going to be great, and then I'm let down. I'm like, oh, that's even worse. So I'm kind of a little bit of torn on that. But going into watching Fantasy Island, I didn't know what to expect other than an island, almost like I was expecting some sort of game show type of thing. Not game show. That's not the reality TV show
Reality,
type
yeah.
of thing. Yeah, and I saw that it was going to be a horror type movie, and I'm not a huge horror fan, but this did not do like this wasn't like The Ring or just things that was so dramatic, so drawn out, and like okay, it's been 2 hours, finally jump out of the well and kill the girl, like just do it. It's so horrible now, but watching this movie, I was actually much more pleased with the storytelling and the way it played out. And in the end, after I got done with it, I was like, I wasn't disappointed. Like I didn't walk away thinking like, oh man, I want my money back or like my life back. I actually did enjoy it.
Good. I'm glad to hear, man. I feel the exact same way. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Now, I didn't go into the movie with high hopes or low hopes at all. I went into the movie with kind of like just an open mind. Like whatever they're about to present, I'm going to be happy with. I didn't watch trailers ahead of time. If you watch the trailer now, it spoils so much. It's one of the worst trailers ever. So I'm glad I didn't watch it, right? But I went into the movie just with the attitude, oh, I'm going to hopefully see a good movie. Now, I heard it was horror just like you did, and but it's rated PG-13. So ahead of time I thought to myself, horror PG-13, this isn't really going to be horror. I'm not going to see blood and guts and stuff. It's going to be more like a thriller. That's what I thought. And then when I heard Michael Pena's in it, and I didn't know what his role was going to be, I just heard Michael Pena's going to be in it. Great, we're going to get some comedy, right? I didn't know he was Mr. O'Rourke, or Mr. Rourke. So I was expecting comedy and stuff, and so I didn't have a horror vibe going into it, and I think that helped because if you go in expecting horror, you're going to be sorely disappointed in this movie.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I'm glad though, because I went into it thinking it was a horror movie in the traditional sense of the word, and it wasn't, which was good. And you're right, being PG-13 and horror at the same time, it doesn't really fit. R and horror fit really, really well together. But yeah, so I didn't watch any trailers beforehand. I
Good.
just like we always never watch trailers. I try to tell people just in like random people I meet or friends. And when we start talking about movies, I say, you know what I do now is I don't watch trailers. And people are like, what? Really? Just like I did to you. When you said the
Yeah.
same thing, like, what? Why would you not watch trailers? But in reality, if you don't watch trailers, it's going to be so much better because you have so little knowledge of what's going to happen. You're just a blank slate and you're just taking the story in. And so when it came to this movie, I had no clue. I had no idea. I just saw that it was a horror movie, but PG-13. So I was like, okay, you should be okay. But as I went through the storytelling, I thought, you know what, this is pretty good. Now I got to ask you, at what point in the movie did you feel like, okay, I know who the bad guy is?
At no point, at no time. I was wondering who the bad guy's going to be, what's the twist going to be, and then all of a sudden, when we found out it was Melanie, I didn't see that coming at all because. I mean, you got to expect it's going to be somebody, some character that you've seen already, and this leads to like the only issue that I have with the movie: the twist with her being bad because she's torturing Sloane. She's obviously uncomfortable. She obviously wants to befriend Sloane, but then it was all an act. But we saw that whole scene from her perspective. She was obviously into it, thinking it was fake. And then when it was real, she flipped. That's where the movie, that's my only complaint with the movie because that did not make sense. If we saw the whole movie from Sloane's perspective, being in the room and then getting tortured and then Dr. Torture comes in, totally different story. But from Melanie's perspective, it didn't work. That's the one thing.
I do completely agree. The only thing that gets me a little different in being okay with that is that she was filming it, but we didn't see, or it was when she pushes record when she should be acting. Because if it was just me and you, we're going into a room, we know what's going on. We're like, haha, I got her and all that sort of stuff. Like we'd be just nonchalant. Okay, I know what this is at, know what this is. Okay, I got to put my game face on, hit record, game face on. Oh, blah, blah, blah. But it
That's
was never like that.
interesting.
Yeah.
I never considered it was she was acting for the film. So now that you say that, it makes a little more sense. Maybe that's why they had her record it, because at no other time in the movie did anybody whip out a phone and start recording stuff. So that's a good point. That's good on your part. That makes me kind of be a little bit happier with the twist that they had now.
Yeah, but also I will say though that the beginning, before she actually hit record, she was acting then. Like it's not necessary. So but it really helps to kind of trick you in the very end that she's actually the bad guy, the bad lady. But that was really rather interesting. Like literally nobody had cameras that were recording any of this stuff, which is rather funny. In fact, a lot of movies, especially that are today, like set in today, everybody has a phone. And so if there's anything going, I can't remember, there was something I was watching. I literally can't remember off the top of my head what it was, but I know at this time people have cell phones. Like literally pull out your cell phone, start recording, and then upload it to YouTube and send it out. Like it might have been another movie we just did, but every single thing, it's like literally record it, send it out. Everybody not just has a phone, but everybody is like, instead of helping that guy that felt like, I'm just kind of abstractly thinking, because it's happened before. You're in a train station or a subway station, a guy falls off the tracks. I'm just going to pull up my phone and record what happens instead of going and helping the guy get out of the train tracks and getting killed. So people are going to be recording. So but yeah, so throughout the whole movie, you didn't see anybody do any recording. Probably, it'd have been neat if it would say, okay, we're locking up your phones because this is something, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, so
Well, at
I
the
would think,
beginning, Melanie looked at her phone and said, "Well, I guess no phone service. I guess there's one thing the island can't do." She said something like that. So that was kind of their explanation there.
yeah, but still at the same time, it's, I think of like Princess Bride, would you please, like the Wesley's getting tortured. He's all, then the torturer says, would you please tell me how you feel for posterity's sake? Same thing, for posterity's sake. I'm going to record for posterity's sake
That's
because
right.
this is what happened.
That's right. Well, yeah, you're right. Brax's character, as soon as he saw that room pull open with all those half naked dude and all those bongs, he would have whipped out his camera and said, "Look where I am," and done a
Yeah, look at
selfie. You know?
that. Yeah,
Yeah, he
absolutely.
would have done that
Everywhere.
for sure.
Yes, absolutely. Especially when people start dying. You're like, dude, I got to record this because nobody's going
Yeah,
to believe me. Anytime
for
there's
sure.
something that nobody's going to believe you, you should pull out your phone and start recording it because that's literally what's going to happen is you're going to be able to say, look, look. And so that's what she was doing with, I can't remember the Melody or Melanie,
Melanie.
with the girl that was bullying her. Watch this because this is me, obviously her acting. But so going to the very beginning, what I guess my question was to you: at what point did you realize that who the bad person was? I was always trying to figure that out, who the bad person was. I just assumed that the bad person was the island. And the island, because it was okay, it's a horror movie. There are bad, people dying and all sorts. I just was assuming that the bad person was the island. But when I can't remember what the one lady that wanted the daughter, I can't remember her name. When she
Maggie
went back,
Q is the actress.
okay, yeah, when she realizes that, hey, this is
Gwen.
not my, yeah, this is not the fantasy that I wanted. I want a different one. She goes back and actually does that, and she starts picking out like, oh, you're there. Oh, you're there. Oh, we have a connection. What's the deal? Which is rather interesting. Obviously, at that point, everybody's thinking, what's really going on? Like, there's something deeper than just the island. Now, here's a big thought for you. What do you think the difference? Not difference. That's not the right way to say it. With this movie, Fantasy Island, versus Lost, like the entire season of Lost, and having the island being, because I was thinking it's another Lost, so like it's the island being the bad guy. What are your thoughts between the two?
Well, they're completely different islands. The island in Lost has magical, I guess, powers or properties that the people that live on the island can access and harness. But I guess Fantasy Island, the same idea, a tropical island that wishes or fantasies can come true. Unbelievable things can happen, but there's just the fundamental differences in that the island in Fantasy Island can actually create characters and create human seeming things out of black liquid that can interact with you. Whereas on Lost, there were actually just inhabitants, the natives of the island that were doing the island's bidding or doing things that I guess in benefit of the island, you know?
Now I'm going to jump all the way to Lost because I brought it up and it got me thinking. Because you're much more of a Lost buff than I am. Did they ever full circle come around and say what that big monster was that made that loud noise, the big smoke pillar and all that sort of stuff that would, in the very first opening, like the pilot, that was like, oh, what's that? Tearing down trees, blah, blah, blah. And then we know it's like it's something in smoke and all that sort of stuff. What was that?
Yeah, it's the man in black. He was um Jacob's brother on the island, adoptive brother, I guess. And they grew up together, and he wants to escape the island, but he's evil, and Jacob needs to keep him on the island. But he can turn into a smoke monster and kill. Spoilers for Lost, everybody, if you haven't seen the show back from 2004. Um, and he could just kill, and his goal is just to get off the island, and Jacob's goal is to keep him on the island. And then that's what the inhabitants, they needed to keep him on the island. That's what Locke needed to do. I mean, that's the smoke monster for you.
Got it. So he could actually turn into the smoke monster.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
interesting. Okay. Yeah, there were so many plot points and so many everything in Lost that it was just kind of threw me a loop. But now looking at Fantasy Island, you have what, four different characters, main like groups, like the brothers, the one girl with one of the daughter, the one that wanted revenge, and the military guy. So you have four different groups and four different stories basically telling at the same time. I think as far as storytelling wise, they did a pretty decent job piecing it together where you're not feeling too lost. Not pun, no pun intended with the Lost TV show, but you don't feel too lost in general because you're tracking along with the story, which is rather neat. But at the same time, they do a really good job walking you through that entire timeline of them at the island working or seeing, not really necessarily working together, but seeing each other, interacting, them going on their own timeline or their own like little story, side story. But then Maggie, whatever her name is, going back and getting new fantasy and seeing like, hey, I left the kettle burning and started a fire and then ran around. So you're after that, you've already seen all these other characters, and this one scene pieces everything together. So if I were to pick one scene, now there's so many different things inside this movie. It was hard for me to pick one scene that I really thought was, this is a good, like I could watch this one over again. And I think it goes down to the fact of my grade. I'll get to the grade in just a second, but the one scene that I enjoyed the most was that scene where she goes and she starts figuring things out, and she almost dies inside, the fire. She couldn't actually, save the guy. That was probably my favorite scene because wheels started turning in my brain. Like, oh, this is what's really happening. Because everything else was just, it was just okay. Like the military scenes were just okay. No, actually, they were pretty.
That
poor.
was my that was my least favorite of the four arcs.
The military one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was horrible. I wouldn't say, yeah, no, it was horrible. I really, really didn't like it. It was just like, oh, this is just sad. They didn't have anything really other than like, oh, you're my dad, you're leaving. Oh, I'm gonna shoot you, and blah blah blah. It was sad.
I gotcha. You said the storytelling, right? Not only the storytelling was great with those four different stories, and like you said, but also the character development. When they first arrived on the island, they were having drinks in the house, and then everybody separated and stuff. I just I was really getting into the story, and I understood each of the characters and their motivation. And then I was so drawn into each person's story, maybe other than the military guy. Everyone else, I love the story. Seeing Gwen hook up with her old boyfriend, and then now they have a kid. That was pretty cool. Seeing the woman, seeing Melanie torture Sloane, that was my favorite scene. The whole torture scene, and then saving her at the end, because you go from wanting to torture, thinking it's fake, and it looks like she's kind of having fun. Hey, this is a fake torture thing, and then all of a sudden it seems real, and I was like, oh snaps! Like in the theater, I was like making faces because like she sees the video of Sloane cheating on her husband, and she publishes on Facebook. I'm all, oh my gosh, if that happened in real life. Like I was so drawn in. I love the storytelling and the character aspects, like you had mentioned right there. But the army guy, maybe for whatever reason, I don't know why, maybe they just didn't pull it off well. It was just kind of boring, like you said.
Yeah, his character from beginning to end, even just him in the fire, like, I get it. That's why she was mad at him, because he didn't actually go in to the fire to try to save him. But like his whole character, like everything about it was just like, oh, this is a waste of time watching what he's doing. Like it
Felt
literally
like it.
doesn't help. Yeah, didn't help. But I do love seeing. Oh man, I can't remember his name. He was on Cliffhanger. He was in The
Michael
Walking.
Rooker.
Michael Rooker, yes, I thought it was cool. Just literally a 5-second cameo, almost. It like, hey, let's just bring
Yeah.
Michael Rooker in. Let's pay him for one day. All he needs to do is smile, or not really smile, but like give like 4 lines and then call it a day.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with you there. He was underused. And now that you mentioned Michael Rooker, this is perfect because going into the movie, the very beginning, I only knew Miguel Pena or Michael Pena was going to be in it. But then you start seeing the credits. You see Jimmy O Yang, Kim Coates, Michael Rooker's name, Maggie Q, and I'm all, whoa, those are some great actors, like actors I like to see on screen. I got excited. I think that's what helped. I got excited from the very beginning, seeing their names on screen.
Yeah, it was a good cast, and I think I didn't come across at any time like, oh, this is bad acting, or this is bad, like taking me out of the
Mhm.
movie. I didn't get that sense at all. I did like how the island was more. It wasn't the bad thing; it was the person that was the bad thing, which was rather interesting. But what? Okay, so what was your favorite scene out of the entire movie?
It was the torture scene. That was definitely because I
Okay,
was
you said
so
that.
into it, and I felt for Sloane. Even though she cheated on her husband, she's kidnapped. She's getting tortured now. She's getting shocked. Water dumped on her. I felt really bad for her, and I was emotionally invested in that scene. And I loved how Melanie decided to turn the tables, dump the water, shocked him, and then saved her. I thought that was sweet.
Yeah, I thought everything was fine other than the guy trying to come in and kill her. That was
Mhm.
like she did, that lady, the bad lady, deserved everything. The blonde girl. She literally deserved everything. All that stuff going on Facebook. All she deserved every bit of that. But the killing, that was like definitely over the top. So
Yeah.
what was your, before we get into lessons? What was your grade for the movie?
B plus.
Wow, that
Yep.
high?
Yep. I really enjoyed it. I don't know how rewatchable it is. I'll definitely watch it again on Netflix, or hopefully it comes out on Netflix or something so I can watch it for free, you know. But I'll definitely watch it again in the future. But it's not something that I think I can watch over and over again. But at the end of the movie, you said we're going to talk about lessons. At the end of the movie, we learn what Jimmy O Yang's T is, and it's tattoo. That means he's going to be his assistant tattoo, like Hervé Village has, you know, in the original show. And then so now we're going to get, assuming this does good, I looked at the Rotten Tomato score, 10% critics, 47% audience. Who knows if it'll get a sequel, but I give it a B plus. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
So maybe I'm completely drawing a blank. What is it? What do you mean by tattoo and all that sort of stuff?
The original show had Ricardo Montalban was, you know, Mr. Rourke, the one in charge of the island.
Oh wait,
He
wait.
had
So
his
this was
little
was this
midget.
a movie before, or was this a
No, it
TV
was a
show?
TV show back from when we were before. I think maybe even it was on before we were born, like in the early 70s, maybe late 70s. But he had a Hervé Villachez, the midget.
Got it.
You know, Boss D
No,
Plane. You
that's
might have seen that
I had
somewhere.
no
His
idea
name
what
was
that was from.
Tattoo. Yeah. Hmm.
Got it.
Yep.
So
And then so
because I
now
had no
Jimmy
idea
O
this was
Yang is going to be the new Tattoo.
the plane, boss, the
Yep.
plane.
Yep.
I had no idea that this was. I knew there were other fantasy islands. I kind of like perceived there probably has been something, but I had no idea there's a TV show, or I never thought to look up anything in the past. So that's pretty interesting that they're harkening back to that. So that's pretty fun.
Yep. Yep. Uh, and so I really enjoyed that. Do you recall where we saw Jimmy O Yang most recently?
No, I don't.
He was in Crazy Rich Asians. He was the one that threw the big party on the boat that was shooting like an RPG off into the
Oh, that was
water.
him.
Hmm. Same
Oh, that's
actor.
awesome.
Yeah.
All those
Yeah.
Asians, they look alike. So
They do,
for
huh?
everybody not knowing, Sky and I are both half Japanese, and so I just thought that was pretty funny to say.
Yep, for sure. So, Dust, what was your very first lesson then?
My very first lesson is a few things, but it leads. I mean, they all tie together. But it's never leave the room when the stove is on. Never leave the room when you have a baby in the tub. I'm extrapolating. Never leave the room when the stove is on. Never leave the room when a baby's in the tub. Never turn your back on a kid or kids that are swimming in the pool. And I'll give you a story. Well, obviously, we see what happens when you leave the stove on, catches it on fire. In fact, literally, just right before we jumped on, I was watching Shark Tank. And Shark Tank, there was a guy who was a fireman. And he thought the number one fires, they start in America from a stove catching on fire, people leaving them on. And so he created a device that plugs into the wall outlet, and then your stove plugs into that. And as soon as that device hears the beep, 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 beep from the smoke alarm, it shuts off the entire source of the heat. And so what he says was the smoke precedes the fire. So it's going to almost 99% of the time, it's going to stop all the fires. So thinking of the fires, but then I also started thinking about a lady literally leaving her baby. She jumped on Facebook. At least this is what she says. She went in a room and went on Facebook on her computer with the baby in the bathtub. The baby drowned. Really
Oh,
horrible, sad. But there's also one thing personally. I think I had two kids at the time. We had our pool. We had some friends over. They were swimming, and our oldest Ellie, I want to say she was maybe like 4, so she couldn't swim at all on her own. And she wanted to get out of the pool, so I was okay. Let's get out of the pool. And I come out, and then she somehow snuck back in, or something happened, and I kind of turned away. But all the other parents were kind of facing away, and I turn away because I'm picking up something, and I thought I should be looking, but I didn't. I was looking down. Ellie jumped in the pool and was almost like she was basically drowning. And her friend, who was maybe a year older, started laughing because he didn't know. He was like, she can't swim. Then my friend's dad, you know him, his name's Sam, comes up and grabs her, picks her, because he didn't know. He heard the laughing. It's like, what's going on?
mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness. Just thinking of it, telling that story really got my heart racing, because when I got done, I was like, I am never turning my back on this again, especially for kids who cannot swim. So that was a huge lesson for me in teaching my kids, because they're learning how to use the stove. Like, literally never leave the room when the stove is on. You stay in the kitchen the entire time until it turns off.
Yep, for sure. Really good lesson right there. 100%. Don't turn your back on a dangerous, whatever it is. Like you said, kid in a pool, source of fire. that kind of stuff. I love that lesson. Let's see here. My first lesson is what goes around comes around, right? In the initially we learned the original thing was Melanie was bullied by Sloane, so now her fantasy is to get revenge back on Sloane. Well, not that she deserved to be tortured and shocked and stuff, but you can expect eventually if somebody that you mistreated early on, if they now have power to do something against you, to get revenge against you, there's a good chance what you gave is going to come right back at you. So be careful who you mistreat in this life, and actually don't mistreat anybody.
And Sloane is so stupid. She did not learn from any movies. If she would watch this, or watch our or listen to our podcast, watch us on YouTube, she'll learn lessons. And we haven't covered this one, but this should be a one that we should cover really, really soon because this is very applicable here. Because if Sloane was watching, she would say, "Hey, Billy Madison, he called his guy that he bullied, and he said, 'Hey, I'm so sorry. I was a horrible person. I would you apologize? I apologize. Would you please forgive me for bullying you all those years? I was just disgusting. I am sorry.'" And Steve Buscemi says, "Yeah, okay," and then click. And then
Yeah,
Steve Buscemi pulls up a list of people he's going to kill and scratches his Billy Madison's name off the list. If she would have learned that a long time ago, she would have called and said, "I am wrong for doing that." And now, she in this movie she almost dies. But yeah, so she should
you're
be
right.
watching movies
That's a
and learning
perfect
lessons.
lesson. Make amends while you have the chance. That's a good lesson, Dust,
Awesome.
for sure.
So
So what's your second one?
my second lesson is always carry a weapon. No matter if it's you don't have they take away weapons, but you're walking around, you're like John Wick, grab a pencil. You want to make sure you always have something on you. And I literally first thought of that when Stallone was running around in the forest, running around, and she was like kicking and stuff of the guys. I would be grabbing for weapons, not grabbing for a phone. Like, who knows to call this place? Like, that's just stupid. I'm on an island, anyways. So I'm going to be grabbing for any sort of weapons possible. I always carry a pocket knife. I think you said you always carry a pocket knife on you, don't you?
Yes,
Yeah, something like that. And I always like carrying a sidearm or a pistol as well. I have a concealed carry permit, but I'm always carrying. Just it gives me that extra couple seconds to get my family far, far away and get us all to safety.
for sure. Good point there. Good point. Let's see. My second lesson is never separate. When they go down in the caves and they say, "Let's split up." No, in any horror movie, we know that's a bad thing, but there's always strength and power in numbers, right? When you're fighting any kind of adversary, even if they're supernatural, you don't know what they are. Yeah, you don't separate. You always stay together. Bad move in any dire situation.
So thinking of that, is it better? Would you pick if you're in a line? You can't pick the middle. You either in the front or the back of the line. Where would you be?
Oh, like if we're traveling through caves.
Yeah, we're traveling through a cave, and there's like maybe let's just say three people, and you cannot be in the middle one. That one's already taken, and you need to be the front or the back. Which one would you pick?
If I think I know where I'm going, I would take the front. But if I have no idea and someone else has been in the cave before, I'm taking the back so I can guard the rear while they guide us through. So
What if you
it
have no
depends.
clue? You're literally trying to figure it all out.
Oh, then I'm taking the front. If all three of us don't know squat, I'm in front.
Because I was thinking the back, especially if people are coming to get you, you better be walking backwards facing behind you because that's well, like I watched a YouTube video once, or actually it was like on some news or something, but there was this kid who was sitting down and he was facing away from a lion. And then the kid is looking at the parents, and then he turns around and looks at the lion. The lion's maybe, I want to say 30, 40 feet away. And the lion starts creeping up right behind the kid. And as soon as the kid turns and looks at the lion stops and just looks at him and just pauses. And the kid's still looking at him, kind of smiling. And then he pauses more. The lion's just perfectly dead still. Literally as soon as that kid turned away to look at the parents again, the lion bolts at the kid and runs into the glass because it was at a zoo and was literally going to take that kid and eat it. But yeah,
Oh,
so
crap.
yeah, I know it, and so it's on film. I bet you could probably look it up. Maybe like lion attacks kid or something like that. But it was super amazing. But if you're in the back, you better have eyes in the back of your head or walk backwards.
Yeah, that's a good point. Now that you said that, if you ever watch a horror movie and stuff, and when it's a crazy situation, right? People they can't access their logic centers. I would like to think I can, so maybe I should be in the back because I think I would be more capable than a lot of other people to pay attention to what's behind me, to what's coming up possibly behind us, while you people who are maybe scared are strictly looking forward. So maybe I would be better in the back than Joe Schmo that who's somebody who I don't know, who I can't trust to be paying attention behind us.
Yeah, that's a good point. Or just let him go, like let him get taken. And you're like, okay, now I know something's coming after us. Now I'll go in the
Yeah, I
back.
guess so. That works too. Yeah.
So my third lesson comes with when the girls are being chased by the guy with his, lips stapled. What was that about? Like that was were we supposed to know what that guy is with his lips stapled?
Well, he was Dr. Torture. He was the therapist that Melanie said was a terrible therapist and didn't help her out at all. And for whatever reason, he came in with this. Maybe they were just trying to add a scary horror element that didn't need to be there.
Got it. Okay. It was just rather interesting. I was like, should I know who this guy is? This is weird. But when they're walking through the wood or the forest or, the jungle, and you have, what was his name again? The guy was on or on a cliffhanger and stuff.
Oh, Michael Rooker.
Michael Rooker. So they're following together. Michael Rooker's telling them, hey, stop being stupid, apologize to each other. And then Dr. Torture comes in. Well, Michael Rooker, he realizes at the very end, hey, I'm going to save these two girls. He goes and tackles Dr. Torture and goes off the cliff. I'm like, dude, at least try to kick him. Try to do anything to not go off the cliff with him. That's your last case. That's your worst situation is you have to go over because he's literally going to kill everybody. So you just kick first. You do everything you can to get him off, and kind of ties into, if somebody's literally throwing you off a cliff, you are obviously trying to not go off the cliff. But the second thing is you're grabbing onto them and pulling them with you, because then, hey, at least, you're not just, you're falling, just flailing your arms. But yeah, so I think Michael Rooker should have kicked and did everything to get that guy off the ledge as opposed to both of them going off. And then at the same time, this dude is going to be, he's going to come back to life. So even if he falls off the cliff, he's still going to come back to life. So it's just, I just thought that was rather silly.
Yeah, for sure. Is that a combination life lesson and a Monday morning quarterback for you?
No, actually, well, so it's a life lesson, but the Monday morning quarterback is Melanie should have just offed them all four of them instead of putting them through this sort of stuff. She literally should just off them all and say, hey, firing squad. That's all I need. I don't need to play these stupid games and firing squad. You're done.
Yep, exactly. That was my exact Monday morning quarterback. You're just wasting time trying to give them what could be a good experience, and now you're going to flip the script and now kill them. Forget making them happy for a time. It's not like revenge is going to be any sweeter. You want them dead. That's what you should have done in the first place. So I'm down. You and I, same Monday morning quarterback.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Yes.
But
so
my
I think
third.
yeah. I was going to get my grade. I forgot you haven't given your third lesson. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. My third lesson is regret is a disease. And I think Mr. Rourke or Michael Pena said that to Maggie. And that's absolutely true, right? Looking back on your life, regretting the things that you've done, you can't change them, but they've already done them. What you should do is try to learn from those mistakes to not repeat them in the future. Make amends, like you said, if you have to do that, right? Or if that's a possibility, make amends for it. But yeah, don't let that regret just eat you up inside, because of that regret, she wasn't able to marry the man of her dreams and then eventually have that daughter that she could have had and would have loved, So I've never heard that before. Regret is a disease, but I do agree with it.
I completely agree. And I never live in the past. I never, anything that's happened in the past, obviously it's something that has changed you. That's hopefully help you to grow. I'm always looking forward, always seeing how I can get better, how I can grow to, make my family better, make my life better, make the people around me more enjoy, or help them to be more enjoyable. Or that's not the right way. I'm not enjoying that, but help them have better lives. Just help other people. I find that the more people that I serve, the better my life gets. And if I live in regret, if I live in the past, I wish I would, it's literally just going to eat you up and then take away years of your life. So that's a great point.
Yep, for sure. So I said B plus already for my grade. What's your grade?
Well, because I am not going to watch it again, but I enjoyed it. And remember, you and I, we try to stay away from C's because
it's
C
just
is
too easy of a grade to give.
Too easy to throw that C in there. So I want to give it a B minus because I did enjoy it, but at the same time, I'm literally never going to watch it again.
Hmm.
I'm probably going to forget about it in the next, 6 months or something like that. So I'm going to have to give it a D plus, just because. But I did enjoy it. Now I'm not, and again, you have to understand my grading factor, like how I grade movies is if I'm going to watch them again, if I really really loved it. But then again, I don't watch very many movies over. So you know what? I'm going to have to. I think after just thinking about, because if somebody's going to say, "Hey, Dustin gave it a D plus," well, it's better than a D plus in my opinion. D plus says like literally don't watch it. But I maybe need to switch my grading scale instead of saying if I would watch it again, did I enjoy it watching it now? So I'm going to give it a B minus because I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. I'm going to skip over that C grade because we know that's so easy to give out. I'm going to give it a B minus because I had fun. I enjoyed it. There were some parts that were kind of like irritating, like the cartel guys that came in and took over that house. Like they literally cannot die. It's like, oh, how come the good guys can die but the bad guys can't? Obviously, it's the island taking, picking who. But
Yeah.
a couple of little things were a little irritating in that. But at the same time, I had an enjoyable time. When I got out of the movie, I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. They pieced the story well together. So I'm gonna adjust, not readjust, but adjust my grading scale and say I enjoyed it. I'm gonna give it a B minus.
Good, man. Good. I gave that B plus. So we're in the B level for both of us. So, oh, one last thing, or maybe anything else, but what is the movie prop you'd like to own from this one?
So I'm gonna guess what yours is. It's Enrique. No, no, the
Wait.
shotgun. The shotgun.
Oh, I know. Oh, well, that's not a bad idea. At first, I thought Alejandro's Speedo. I'll take Alejandro's Speedo. But then I
Oh, was
thought,
it
no,
Alejandro? I said Enrique. I'm
you
sorry, I
said
meant
Enrique.
Alejandro.
Yeah, yeah.
I, I,
But
I
no,
totally butchered that joke.
that's okay. I'll take Chastity's bikini. That's mine.
So the only two things that came to mind that would actually be pretty decent were the Rourke's ring was number one, but also the grenade. I thought the
Mm,
grenade would be pretty fun to have as well.
yeah.
But then also, uh, what was his name? Not Enrique. What was it?
Alejandro?
Alejandro. Yeah, the shotgun, Alejandro. I was like
Wait,
that.
wait,
That's
wait.
a
Which
pretty.
wait, wasn't Alejandro the one of the sexy gay guys?
Yeah.
Oh, and they also called the gun Alejandro, huh?
Yes. Yes. That's what
Okay,
they
okay,
called it.
now I remember.
Oh, you did. Okay, you that joke went way over your head. Plus,
Yeah,
I used the wrong
it did
name,
for a second.
and
I
you didn't
forgot
piece
the
them
gun was
together. Uh,
Alejandro. Yeah.
at least, hey, hey, no, nobody accused you of being quick witted, so we're good
Nope.
there.
Nope, nobody ever has. Cool beans, man.
Yeah. So,
All
but between the two, between the ring and the grenade, um, the ring is okay. I think I'm gonna have to go with the grenade.
hmm. Okay, cool. I'm keeping Chastity's bikini, so we're good.
Yeah.
All right. So let me see. You're just looking at my notes. I was really happy that Jimmy O Yang's character of Brax decided to stay on the island. And I was sad when his brother died. When his brother got shot in the chest, I was all, is he going to live? And I thought to myself, no, he got shot in the chest. How can he live? And so I was bummed when he died, but I was happy when he came back at the end, looked back behind the pilot seat, and said,
That was
hey,
cool.
Brax is staying. I'm coming. I enjoyed that aspect of the movie.
I agree. Yeah. So beginning and I'm pretty solid with a B minus. I think it was a good movie. I enjoyed it. I won't watch it again, but I would say that people, if they have a desire for a good story, a lot of suspense as well, but then also mixing, intertwining stories together, I thought it was really good.
Cool beans. Cool. So any last words, Dust? Was that the last word?
That was it for me.
Okay, cool beans. So we kind of chose this movie together, but next week there's nothing new in theaters that I want to watch. But I want to expose you to a movie I doubt you've heard of, but I absolutely loved it. It is called One Cut of the Dead. Have you heard of it?
No, I have not. What? Where? How old is this, and when did you watch it?
It came out last year, 2019. It's a Japanese horror zombie movie. One Cut of the Dead. It cost 25,000 to make.
Oh
It
my
has
goodness!
grossed 31 million so far.
Whoa! I
It is
want a
one of
piece
the
of
most
that action.
profitable, yes, one of the most profitable movies of all time. It is so freaking good. I am not going to tell you anything about it. Just go to Amazon, rent it. Don't read, don't do nothing. Don't look up anything online. You don't want to
Okay.
be anything. Yeah, just watch the movie. Um You're going to love it. I guarantee. And
I'm
I'm really
I,
looking forward to discussing it with you.
I'm very intrigued. Like I'm
Yep.
actually genuinely like this might be pretty fun. Like if it costs $25,000 to make, but it grossed that much, 31 million, you said, I'm
Yes.
blown away. Like if you said it cost 25,000 and they made $1 million, I'm like, I'll pass. But if it made 31 million, I'm like, that's that's nothing to shake a stick at. So
No,
absolutely.
it's not.
One
Yep. Yep.
cut
So
from the dead.
one cut of the dead.
Of the dead.
Yep.
Got it.
Yep. You're going to absolutely love it. I guarantee. So, everybody, thank you so much for listening. If you're watching on YouTube, thanks for your eyeballs as well, right? So, if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend. All you got to do is send them to the show notes page, watchandlearnpodcast.com/pod88 or watchandlearnpodcast.com/YouTube for the videos as well. All righty. Well, once again, thanks for listening. My name is Sky.
And I'm Dusty.
And we will return next week with
One cut of the dead.